sitting on my chair.
Hello.
It's always when you go live, isn't it? So we've just finished recording our last 2 modules of Serenity now. So you can access it through Soul Driven Motherhood for just $1 to try it out, and you get all of our previous. So now there's 5 courses in there, plus a whole heap of hot seats. Or you can buy it as a downloadable bundle for just $44, and you can download that information and use it whenever you want to use it. So we've actually had the most incredible response from it. So we've pulled down everything that we make abstract and talk for hours about in the podcast. We've pulled down into short, concise, 15-minute live videos where we give you a concept to consider in a trigger, and then it's remedy with, often there's 2 tips and tricks for moving your body from a state of dysregulation to a state of regulation. So one of those that we find super powerful, because we all know as conscious parents is this whole anti-social media feed and anti-screens.
Anti being on your phone. Kids. Yeah.
So one of the tools that we just use when we were talking about triggers with in-laws, and particularly around festive engagements and experiences, is to be able to see a different reality. Sometimes you have to take yourself out of reality. So if you're able to move your brain and your physiology into a new reality, you come back into this one able to see it completely differently. So we listed 3 or 4 ways that you can do that, but one of those is with a well curated social media feed. So if you scroll on your social media and you're feeling a bit shit, unfollow those pages. You don't have to follow them. You're not missing out. Your social media feed should drop you into a feeling body state of, oh, I remember the core pieces of me. I remember why this is important. I remember how this fuels me up and makes me want to do better or do more or show up in this way, because we are the product of the 5 people we spend the most time with. And honestly, now we have at this point in our society where we can access that through media formats. So you can influence the way that you think, look, act, behave, and feel by what you're constantly saturating your world, your mind, and your nervous system in. So that's why the podcast is super powerful, because we're in your ears and you're remyelinating even as you're listening. And it's why social media can allow you this space when you're perhaps on shaky ground or feeling protective or reactive around the way that you do things, or the way that the way that you do things is being perceived, and you're all like this at a social function. That really the point is, and you said it way more beautifully than me, is to take yourself out for 5 minutes, enter the world where you remember who you are, and then come back in with a new ability to show up, because you're not needing to protect who you are. It's this grounded, I remembered, I forgot for a minute, but now I remember, and I can enter with a new reality, and therefore the experience instantaneously shifts because I'm entering it with a different feeling state. Is there anything else you want to add?
I think it just really gives you that pause, and this is what we really want to offer in terms of it's the antithesis to this idea of being consumed in screens and like screens being bad and like get off social media. Is actually, what is this giving me? And like, we've seen this in our Kids Kindness Advent Collective, the amount of beautiful,
oh my God, heart-opening moments
stuff that's been shared. And also it's something that we really consciously try to do in terms of how we show up on social media and in the podcast, is to give voice and spaciousness to you in motherhood, at the same time as being the point at which you ask more of yourself to lean into who you want to become, right? Like we do, like when we hit the shit bits with our kids or in parenting, and instead of reacting and closing and wanting to avoid it and go away from the problem, we ask, what's here? How can I open to this? And when we curate a feed that asks us to do that on a bigger scale, it brings more of us into this moment of ourselves and as parents. And in terms of what we bring, this festive season, because it's over in a flash. We can choose to be consumed by it, or we can choose to mindfully enter it, anchored into who we are. And we get to do that beautifully through social media. And you can do that with us. You can do that by jumping into this toolkit with us, which we have created, in these little bite-sized pieces, because we want it to be easy. We want it to not be something that you have to lose yourself in, but that you come into and you get some, little
bang, bang, bang.
And it changes how you view your day. It changes how you view your partner when you're really triggered. It gives you more capacity when your kids are at you for their Christmas wish list and for the thing and for, it gives you spaciousness when they don't get what they wanted.
Yes, there's only 4
Right.
15-minute videos. We chose to focus them specifically on background information in terms of parents, children, in-laws, and partners. But each of the tools that we discuss in each one, of which is about 2 per one, for moving into a regulation state, stack one upon the other. So at the end of it, you have at least 8 whole, solid ways that you can totally in the moment integrate and do regulation in your body to expand beyond where you find yourself now. But I bet in that there's a whole heap more that opens up for you.
And there is too, because it comes to the PDF as well. So with the PDF, it applies to each training. And you can also take that away and use this as journaling prompts. So these are common, lines of questioning that we work with in our minds like this in our days.
Yep.
And we want to
It's like that though, because we do it so often. So
Yeah.
initially it feels clunky, which is why you need something that's tangible when you're changing a new way of thinking and being, until you do it often enough that brain circuit is then there and it just becomes part of what you do. So that's why we want to make sure we've pulled it down into ways that you can easily grasp it and do what we do, because we don't want it to be just us. We want it to be everyone.
Yeah.
So we want it to become effortless for you. So please join Serenity now. You can buy it as a downloadable bundle, or you can jump into Soul Driven Motherhood. Both those links will attach to the bottom of this video. But let's completely change the way that you show up and how powerful you feel in that showing up during this festive season.